Hello, everyone, and welcome to the TAO April update from the ID&I team. We've got some big things happening in the marketing side of things and on the development side of things. On the marketing side of things, we have Carolina, who's just joined our team as our copywriter, and I'll allow her to give an introduction. And on the development side of things, I'll let Karim take over and do his overview. Over to Karim.
Thank you, Fola. Very productive month this April. Luca, our most recent addition to the team, has developed a very interesting tool that generates logical queries automatically, and we use them for testing query containment in TML. He also embarked on a small project comparing three theorem provers, namely Z3, Vampire, and CVC4. And he found that out of all three, not only does Z3 basically outclassed all of them, but also compares favorably with TML. So we do have some, like I said earlier in the Q&A, we're still working on the performance improvements in TML, but we're comparable with other logical solvers out there. Maurici has worked some more on documenting the safe subset of TML or of data log that TML supports. He implemented additional safety checking and fixed some unsafe code that was generated automatically for the interpreter. He also continues the improvements on the binary transformation, also supporting safe negation. He extended the CQC algorithm with support for arithmetic terms and made it smarter so we can factor out additional terms of rules. And ultimately, he fixed some performance bugs, again, in TML by improving the hashing of BDDs, which in turn improved the efficiency of the caches, and especially for large BDDs. Continuing on the TML side, Juan actually worked on refactoring some of the arithmetic features as well. And he continues to work on the second order logic problem, which is somewhat of a major task. We didn't expect it to wrap up this month either. But most importantly, also, he worked on the blockchain side and implemented micropayments over the Binance Smart Chain, which would allow us, or would allow Agoras Live to process payments with much reduced transaction fees as compared to the ETH blockchain. So that's a major improvement as well. Andre continued his work on Agoras Live. He redesigned the front page layout and functionality. He also improved the mechanism for public sessions, video conferencing sessions. And he also integrated micro payments or crypto payments into the video conferencing operation itself. Last month, he had actually integrated a crypto wallet into the Agoras Live website. Umar continued to work on the TML parsing, fixed many issues in the TML.g regression test, and added some type info to the grammar. He also improved the checking or type checking and improved the bit size calculations in general. He also improved macros and fixed some bugs with string handling. Last but not least, Professor Luke Soll. Luke is a professor of computer science and researcher and a blockchain expert. He joined our team last month. Last month, he was familiarizing himself with the project background and the project internals, but this month, he was able to start working on the blockchain or on the Agoras mainnet implementation, and we're counting on him to lead that effort. I think that's it for development this month.
Now I'm going to pass it over to Carolina, who has a fantastic experience and background in copywriting and marketing, and almost sold Killian and I a windmill. I'm going to pass it over to Carolina for her introduction.
Thank you, Fola. So my name is Carolina. I'm very happy to be on this amazing team. My degree is in translation and linguistics, but for the past 8 years, I've been working in advertising, doing everything from copywriting to ideas for advertising campaigns, user experience writing, and other exciting stuff like that. And my job at TAO will be to communicate the amazing possibilities that TAO brings to the world in the very requested layman's terms, just what our community has been asking for.
Thank you so much, Carolina. Great to have you on board. Welcome to the family, officially on video. I'm going to pass it over to Luca for his update this month.
Thank you, Fola. Thanks for listening. So this month, as Karim already mentioned, the main thing I did was to create a tool which automatically can create queries in order to have a good amount of queries available to check the query containment problem. And this tool is able to generate all queries if we give it a small universe size and few head variables for queries. But as these generation takes very long because there's a lot of different queries, as soon as the universe size gets bigger, or you want to have more head variables or anything like that, there's a need for random generation. So I also implemented a random procedure for random generation of queries. And then these queries are translatable to two formats. The one is our HTML syntax, and the other one is an SMTlib2 format, which is the main input format for SMT solvers. And then with this as the background, I did a little comparison between three theorem provers, as Karim mentioned, V3, Vampire, and CVZ4. All three of them are very successful and very fantastic theorem provers. But for our particular problem domain, it turned out that Z3 was the most robust and best performing tool. And it comes with an MIT license, so we will be able to freely use it in our project. The next task will be to integrate that into the process of query containment check, which we already have, luckily, due to Primorisi. So I will have to see how to integrate it, and that's for the next month to come. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Luca. Really impressive month. Now I'm going to pass it over to Maurici for his update this month.
Thank you, Fola. So yeah, this month I elaborated upon safety checking, just making some modifications to the algorithm and just improving how it functions in certain corner cases. I also documented the safe subset supported by TML, so that users of TML will know from the outset what kind of code will be rejected and what kind of code will be supported. So yeah, I just give a simple inductive definition of, in the documentation, I give a simple inductive definition of formulas which will be supported by TML and formulas which won't be supported by TML. Also, validation is not to achieve safe TML. Validation of user code is not the only thing which is necessary to achieve that. You also have to fix the interpreter, the TML interpreter, because behind the scenes, when a user types in a certain piece of TML code, the TML interpreter generates additional code in order to support certain user features. So like the grammar subsystem generates code behind the scenes in order to support the TML user to write parsers for certain regular languages. So I had to go into the grammar backend and into other areas in the backend of the interpreter and stop them from generating unsafe code. And also with respect to safety checking, I also had to just kind of also had to make some regression tests for safety checking to ensure that the future modifications that we make to TML the future changes that we make to TML don't restrict the range of safe TML supported by TML currently. So yeah, that's what the regression tests will hopefully do. The other thing which I've been focusing on this month has been performance bugs in the interpreter. And one of the bugs was in the caching of BDD and operations. So currently, TML, in order to support relations and to support rules and to support all of the usual TML features, the BDD backend has to compute the conjunction of several BDDs at the same time. And these BDDs are stored in some sort of vector. And sometimes these computations are repeated. And in order to avoid all of the work involved with repeating computations, we store the results of previous BDD computations. But what we were finding was that the hashing of these BDDs was kind of making the lookups of the previous computation slow. So I improved the hash function and we're able to get a large speed improvement. I think more than 3 or 4 times the former performance in terms of the solver. I fixed some other issues to do with insufficient BDD caching. So sometimes a computation would be slow because that particular result wasn't cached before, even though it was computed before. And another thing which I was looking at was improving BDD computation by making the BDDs smaller. Because right now, sometimes BDDs get very large because the quantification is done at the last minute. Whereas if quantification of BDDs was done earlier, the BDDs would be smaller. And if the BDDs were smaller, then the computations using these BDDs would be faster. So yeah, I found that having smaller BDDs was very important for achieving faster performance. And one way to achieve this is to quantify formulas earlier on. Another thing which I worked on this month was improving the performance of the binary transformation. So before we had the binary transformation, I improved the performance of the general binary transformation. So before I had implemented the binary transformation, but it was very slow. I realized that if I implemented the general binary transformation in a way that reduces the number of variables of the rules generated during the transformation, the performance of that transformation greatly improves. So that's one of the things which I achieved. The transformation no longer makes binary rules, but it's not the number of conjuncts that are important. It's actually the number of variables that are used by the rules, which greatly improves the speed. And the last thing which I worked on this month was extending the conjunctive query containment algorithms to support arithmetical terms. This change was just affected by just simply treating, if you've got arithmetical terms like x plus y is equal to z, you can actually just encode that as if it were like a simple relation. And if you do that, then the CQC engine is actually able to recognize containment of queries even when they contain arithmetical terms. And this change has been important because is now able to support arithmetical terms. It is now able to more optimize the rules that are generated for parsers, which contain a lot of arithmetic. So these are the things that I've been working on mainly this month. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Maurici. Really appreciate the update there. Now I'm going to pass it over to Umar for his update this month.
Yeah. Hi, team. So this month, I have been looking into bit size to universe transformations. So previously, we had conducted them in a manner that was slightly not at the par. So I have made some improvements there. Now most of the things are happening in place, and all of this is done in a much simpler and modular way. Second thing is that I've looked into TMLG parsing issues. So one of the goals we have is self-parsing of the TML. And there I fixed a few issues. I also added type information in the grammar. So now if you have programs with the type information, the grammar can also parse them. Previously, the type checking was using a linear vector to search for the types. I replaced it with maps data structure now. So it's pretty faster and easy to look for one given type. And so with these changes, I've made improvements to the type checking and also to the bit size calculation. Because bit size calculation for a given variable needs to be calculated at the raw program level. That was some of the work that needed to be done. Some bugs were reported in the macro feature by Tomasz, so I fixed that. And also, I added a test for the bit size to universe transformation. Basically, all the regression tests in the intro folder are now runnable, and I added more tests as well. So one of the other tasks that was prioritized by Ohad was to figure out a better scheme where currently we are supporting the type information in the terms with two bits in the lower order. They correspond to num, sim, and car. So Ohad suggested maybe we should replace them and find a new way of or using the existing type system, the newly proposed type system, to use that information. So I've been making those changes. Changes spread around lots of over the entire code base. Changes include to the dictionary, to the way we convert bit size to universe program. And then once, so with those changes, now we are able to run the bit size to universe program without lower order type bits included within the BDD. So that saves 2 bits per BDD. That saves 2 bits per BDD. The other task is to, once we have our facts as in bit size to universe, how do we recover them and decode them back into the original raw program? So, so I think over the last couple of days, I spent a significant amount of time handling that. So now that's completed. But I'm still looking at the better design because there's a lot of places where we are moving from the raw program to the terms to the BDDs. So I need to properly redesign and refactor it. But in terms of algorithms, things are accomplished. One of the challenges was also to how do we handle strings and symbols in the bit size to universe. So I waited and for a few weeks to maybe find the right approach. So in this last couple of days, I've built a technique which now treats strings and symbols all as a symbol, and instead of encoding the entire string content, we just use the value that we get from the dictionary data structure. So these are the changes that are nearly complete. Previous are already accomplished. And now I will actually spend some time on refactoring and properly incorporating these algorithms within different classes and modules within the TML. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Umar. And now I'll pass it over to Professor Bensmuller for his update this month.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I joined basically the team this month. I mean, we have discussed a lot before, but I intensified it to a significant degree this month. And basically, I've been interested in two questions. The one was, how do we deal with the challenge of expressiveness on the side of explaining and formulating aspects on the side of legal reasoning, the law that can refer to itself. We had long debates among the team on the Tau project in that end. And it's interesting. I mean, you have then in the end a mixture of different professors on board, researchers, and as soon as they bring in their different angles of viewpoint and mix up also with the persons from the team, then we have these fruitful discussions on Tuesdays. And I think we made good progress in structuring the challenge nevertheless. So there is evidence that we move significantly further in structuring exactly the problem we are addressing so that we can get closer to a solution, but it's still an ongoing debate, and I'm not sure how quickly we come to the final answers, but there's significant progress in my end, at least, in reaching a better understanding. On the other side, I'm really concerned with and interested in is implementation, or stepping towards implementation or cooperating with an prover for monetic second order logic. That is something that would give us, of course, a useful tool to automate reasoning in the Tau project. And here I have done different experiments now recently, installed systems that are on the market already, like the Mona Turing Prover, played with it, compared it with systems that we have running in Isabelle, first order Turing Provers, to which I can talk from within the Isabelle framework. And for instance, just now this afternoon, we had a very fruitful discussion on pros and cons of both sides direct Turing Provers for monetic second order logic and existing Turing proving technology. So also on that side, we gain additional insights and are on the way of preparing further solutions in that directions. On the other side, I mean, the third thing to mention probably is that I still warm up with the entire environment, but get more and more familiar with the family here, and really enjoy to be on board of the fascinating project in which I myself learn. I mentioned it before. A lot, and not only bring in expertise, but also learn, because we're on the edge of so many interesting topics, connecting the automaton world with the logic world, with concrete ideas of application and so on, which makes this entire enterprise idea so fascinating for me. I think that's for a moment.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much, Professor Bensmuller. And yeah, the family keeps on growing. Alrighty, over to Juan for his update this month.
Hi, everybody. Well, as Karim mentioned before, I have been focusing on my three major threads over here. One is related to the payment system in this that we already mentioned, that is going for Agoras Live, that we already mentioned, that is going through Binance Smart Chain. So I have been testing the micropayment channel over this chain, which is pretty much ready to go to get fully integrated into Agoras Live. And yes, as Karim mentioned also, this micropayment channel allows to really reduce the fees for paid session over the Agoras Live service. So that's one point there. I'm also working on the arithmetic feature. Also, this is aligned to what Mauricio already mentioned, where the arithmetic terms or arithmetic expressions can be shared between multiple rules without the requirement of regenerating or having multiple instances of the same arithmetic expression, because it is a relationship that we can share between several rules resorting to a particular arithmetic expression. So that's a fundamental refactoring in the arithmetic feature. And I'm also working on extensions of the arithmetic feature to support signet integers plus decimal numbers on a first step. They will be fixed point decimal numbers, but we don't discard to address a floating point support for our arithmetic or numeric system. Yeah, this I also wanted to mention that we are looking also forward to support arithmetic expression of major larger than just a plus b equals to c. So like, for example, summations, so that those will become sort of built-ins inside the system, where we can actually resort to a built-in summation term that will help to address more complex problems through TML. And on the second order logic feature, well, it's actually, as already Professor Bensmuller mentioned, it's monadic second order logic. I keep nailing down what is the support of this second order feature all over our current framework, our logic framework. And yeah, we are, I mentioned before that we are approaching it as a constraint, satisfaction, by a constraint satisfaction approach. On that side, I have been analyzing negation of the constraints, union disjunction of the constraints, and some already identifying relevant relationship between the second order quantifiers with regards to this constraint based synthesis of the second order variables. So that's still on a raw territory, but we can definitely, we're looking forward to definitely test this approach on our current logical framework. And just to wrap up, I also fixed several bugs identified by the team on the first order logic solver by the current experiment or testing that is going through by different use cases. So it's completion and bug fixing over that feature as well. That's all from my side today. Thanks.
All right, so I'm going to pass it over to Andre for a video overview of what's been going on with Agoras Live. Cheers.
Hello everyone. Last month we continued testing our Agoras Live platform. We added some improvements to the UI. For example, we improved our front page. Now it shows featured categories, top-rated users, and public sessions. Most popular public sessions. Along with it, I improved public sessions engine. Now you can set a title, a description, can set a custom price per participant for public sessions. You can see how many people are going for a certain public session. You can join a public session right from the front page. Next thing I did, the small thing, I added a notification about currently running call. It looks like this. Yes, now you can from any part of the website jump right into a call you have now. Also, I've added a payment system inside video conferencing server. Now, from inside of video conferencing session, you can check transactions, validate transactions, and make and receive payments. And next month we will continue testing and improvement of our Agoras Live platform and hopefully jump right into beta. Thank you everyone for your time and have a great May. Bye.
All right, thank you very much. And I'll pass it over to Tomasz for his update this month.
Hello everyone. This month I finished an initial version of reworked built-ins. Then I continued to work on loading dynamic symbols and mapping TML types to C++ to allow using shared dynamic libraries from TML. I've also started to do more programming in TML, trying to create more examples for others to learn from. So I've been learning TML features I haven't used so far, like types, first-order formulas, and macros. Thanks to that, I've revealed several bugs, which has been fixed already. And I'm also revising count built-in for the case when there are more than one variable in a counted term. So that's it from me this month.
And I'll pass it over to Killian for his update this month.
Yes, thank you, Fola. Hi, everybody. So yeah, this month, like usual, I've been working on the pitch deck, which is pretty much in its final stages. So hopefully very soon we'll be able to actually record it as a YouTube video for everybody to see and get a better understanding of the project, a better overview. Yeah, as part of the pitch deck, I've also been working on the tokenomics sheet, which also has been requested by the community to also serve as a standalone kind of infographic to be able to share it and for people to easily get an understanding of what our token, what Agoras token is about. Yeah, and as part of us approaching a finalization of the presentation, I've also started in doing some outreach with certain enterprises and research organizations. For example, the Fraunhofer Institute in Germany and T-Systems. And yeah, we are looking to present our project to those organizations and to possibly form strong partnerships, possibly gain some funding from them. Yeah, we'll have to see. I've also been working a bit on revamping the executive summary in alignment with the presentation. And Fuller and I, we've been also trying to find a marketing partner for the Asian region for our project. So yeah, we've been doing some outreach to prospects who already got some experience at renowned exchanges such as OKX, Binance, KuCoin, and FTX. So far without success, but hopefully we'll be able to find a partner in that region too. I've also been doing some outreach and follow-up on YouTubers. In the first place, crypto, or not just crypto YouTubers, but also AI logic-focused YouTubers, whereas earlier we focused rather on crypto-focused YouTubers. And yeah, we've had two promising candidates, in particular one, Gigi Mesh, a community member of ours, introduced us to, whose name is Blockchain Bread. He focuses a lot on education instead of just shilling any coin. So we are very interested in getting him deeper involved in our project, or maybe just having him interview us maybe. Yeah, and the other YouTuber is a crypto-focused YouTuber, which we are hopefully having a call with soon. Yeah, I've been also scheduling the Twitter posts ahead of the week and doing some community support. We've started inviting community members to the TML logic calls with the professors. So also if you think you really would like to participate in the call, feel free to hit me up and we can see if we can make that happen. Yeah, the idea also we've had was to possibly in the future create a YouTube live stream and kind of like a panel discussion where we'd have a conversation between OHAD and professors and the doctors, and the community, namely you, would be able to ask specific questions about AI or Tau and TML. I've been also reviewing the work of the Tau supporters. There hasn't been as much activity in the Tau supporter program as I hoped for. But those, the activity that we've had there, namely from Jordi Capitan and Gigi Mess, is very good work. Jordi Capitan created like an NFT series around Tau, I think like 8 or 9 different NFTs with a storyline, and Gigi Mess introduced us to the YouTuber. Yeah, and partially the reason why there hasn't been so much contribution by certain Tau supporters was also because they didn't really know how to explain Tau to the outside community. So I've been having some conversations with them, and hopefully once we have the presentation ready, this will make it much easier for people to grasp the overall project and be able to spread the word around our project. I've also had some like a deeper call with a specific community member who also articulated that it's very important to get our rank back on CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko. So we are also working on that. And I started looking into some crypto-focused TikTokers actually. So not the classical YouTube route, but to see in the TikTok realm whether there are already crypto-focused YouTubers and whether we can engage with them. And yeah, the community member of the month goes to Gigi Mesh for his outstanding contributions in the Tau supporter program. Congratulations and thank you. That's it from me so far.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Killian. And for my update, I guess this month I've been really focused on how we get, sort of bouncing off both what Killian and Carolina and our marketing company and our designers are working on, is coming to this sort of like a unified voice in terms of how we describe and discuss Tau. Over time we've had, as we now understand the project more, even working here, we understand the project more and more ourselves. We've had so many interesting ideas in terms of how things could look and what things could look like. And a lot of my efforts this month have been sort of coming towards some kind of conclusion in terms of how we sort of unify and come with a single voice in terms of how we express and discuss and describe what Tau is, and to the most amount of people. And that's something that both Killian and Carolina have been working hard on this month. And I had a lot of our team members actually. Yeah, just saying, just sort of to add to Killian's thoughts, we have been working also with Ethan and been speaking to a number of potential marketing partners in China. I've also reached out to some people who work with VeChain, and I've had some interesting conversations with people who work at L-Bank Exchange. They are going to come back to us with a proposal and some ideas and thoughts. Obviously, in the marketing space, it's such an easy place to spend and blow money, and we want to make sure that we have the right people involved, so we get the right results for our money that we spend. As I mentioned before, I was talking about sort of unifying this voice in terms of how we describe and discuss Tau. And we're coming to a we are converging on this idea, and how we describe things is just getting much more powerful and stronger, and it's going to allow us to really push ahead with the design and the marketing side. It's going to allow Carolina to push out some really interesting and awesome content. That's what she's going to be working on. She's going to be pushing out articles and turning all of our interesting conversations into articles internally, so you guys can get an insight into what's actually going on. We can also think about how to visualize Tau as well. Been looking for a UX designer that will be able to help us create some kind of concepts for Tau. That's been a big push from me. And then, on that same marketing front, we've been working with our marketing partners, and they've provided some ideas of updates to the Tau logo, and they were quite interesting. We've got lots of feedback for them. And we're still formulating our internal sort of voice before we can go back to them with the feedback. Same thing for our designers as well. They've actually produced some really interesting concepts for not only just Tau, but the website as well. As you guys know, that we have this IDNI website, but we're going to be changing it just purely to Tau. What everyone will be experiencing, and sort of the most, everyone will sort of be facing Tau instead of seeing IDNI. On another side of things, I've also been speaking to some exchanges as well, albeit smaller ones. Decided not to go down that route for this time being. We've been sort of focused on more higher quality exchanges and bigger exchanges as our path onto the biggest exchanges in the world. I've also found a front-end developer, Karim, and Ahad and Andre actually had some good conversations with him. And once we're ready on the front end of the front end design of Agoras, we can get him on board. There's some changes being made to Telegram, as you guys have seen. We've added the announcement channel. And then just on another side of things as well, these calls are getting quite long. These team updates are getting quite long. So I'm just going to float an idea out. I'd like to hear your thoughts in Telegram about a different option. Maybe we can split the update into one, having a developer video, which is just solely developers, and a developer update. The second one being marketing, community, business, things of that nature. And the third one being just purely a Q&A. So if you fancy having this split into 3 different videos and we release content like that 3 times a month, that might be better for you. And just let us know in Telegram. And yeah, that's it from me, beyond the standard sort of admin stuff that I don't really get into because it's kind of boring. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Actually, I will pass it over to Ahad for his update next. Cheers.
I have not much to say. I've been involved in everything you heard about here, and also in the proof of execution, which Lucas is working on. A lot of thoughts there, and also a lot of thoughts on the ongoing problem of how to make consensus detection decidable. This is mainly in the calls with Professor Francoli and Professor Bensmuller. And that's basically it.
All right. Thank you so much, Ahad. And over to your Q&A questions this month. Thank you. And this question is from Bletchley Park. And they ask, why should I buy Agoras tokens?
Yes, so first of all, thank you for your interest in buying Agoras tokens. It certainly helps our project, even though we've already finished our pre-sale. So when you're purchasing Agoras tokens now, you're purchasing them directly from the secondary market by other community members. Yeah, and why should you buy Agoras tokens? Well, Agoras tokens will be the first coin that is truly controlled by its users, and it can evolve over time. So it can adopt many different features, and it will have utility in different ways over the Tau networks. So we have the knowledge economy, where you can trade Agoras for formalized and unformalized knowledge. We'll have a computational resources market, where you can trade Agoras for computational resources. And we'll have a derivatives market, where you can trade Agoras or where you can receive risk-free interest without inflation through Agoras. And the derivatives market will also have traditional put-call options and features that go beyond. So yeah, in the end, we are not a financial advisor, so it's always up to you whether you purchase or not. But yeah, these are basically the key features of Agoras.
All right, thank you very much, Killian. And this next question is by Suez, and they ask, will the project survive or not set back by decades if the founder isn't available to work on it anymore? If not, which development milestone will remove that dependency?
For now, the project wouldn't be the Tau project without Ohad. Ohad is still the main visionary and the driver of the project, and without him, we don't have one. However, we do have a roadmap that's becoming very clear to everybody, both in terms of the goals and in terms of the implementation. I mean, our time frame is for about beginning of 2024. We should have Agora, the knowledge marketplace, up and running. I think once we get there, Ohad could consider getting a retirement, but until then, we need him very much.
And this next question is from Reddy, and they ask, what are the tokenomics for Agoras? Can Agoras be the collateral you need to hold in order to make usage of the Tau Chain's offering on a tier-based structure?
Tau, the way we make it, will not require any kind of coins, but whether or not it will require coins, it will be up to the users. Yes, after all, it is a self-defining system that is defined by its users. And I estimate that the users will indeed decide so, because submitting an opinion, at least an opinion that one wants to be taken into account by the whole network and have and be taken into account in decisions that affect the whole network, like changing Tau itself. If everyone can submit the opinion, then there might be just too much computational resources in order to compute. Too much computational resources will be needed in order to compute the consensus. So I would guess that it might be the case that people will need to pay some transaction fee, call it so, in order for the network to first make it to not lose by investing so much computational resources in order to calculate the consensus, and also to prevent people from sending opinions which don't really matter to them.
All righty. And for the first part of that question, Killian answered it before. All righty. And the next question is from Redneve. And they ask, what will be in the coming months the best way to demonstrate TML capabilities to friends? Agoras Live, the online IDE, or others?
So the best way to demonstrate the capabilities of the TML is the IDE. for now. It has many built-in samples that you can explore yourself in increasing order of complexity, and then you can write your own code, of course. And soon we'll have some demos to show the capabilities of TML. So I would say the online IDE for sure. That's the best way.
Next question is from Dana, and he asks, can we confirm that Tau will be able to use deontic logic for cybersecurity purposes? Using this logic, we can specify and reason about the security policies, such as permissions, authorizations, prohibitions, and obligations.
Yeah, that is indeed a question addressed to me in a sense, or I should be able to say something about it. I have a background in deontic logics and getting them to run in the framework of higher order logic, and have experimented with that, and we had good results on that end. Now in the Tau project, we are still discussing whether amongst in our Tuesday meetings, whether we want to stay purely classical or whether we want to go deontic road, eventually including also other non-classical logics that might be relevant in addition to deontic logics. The options are there. Eventually that requires then again a bit more of an expressive general language framework to start with, but the discussion is really there. So we could go for a deontic a direction in which we consider deontic logics as part of a solution in Tau, but eventually we also can try to prevent it in order to stay more in a pure proper classical setup. So there's a pro and con debate amongst us, and we are not completely decided yet. But I would say it's clearly doable from my own experience in a higher order setting, where of course I don't have the guarantee of decidability. So it's a debate that is also about question of decidability versus eventually complete reasoning with deontic logics. In the end, we need first order deontic logics, or probably, and then that introduces complications. So that's already a technical answer, but deontic logic is possible. To keep it short again, in summary, we have to make our decisions whether we want to go that road.
Ahad, do you have anything to add there?
Well, I'm not an expert in deontic logic at all, but Professor Franconi knows a lot about it, and he mentioned it a few times. And my impression is that most of the time he mentioned them, it was in a negative manner. So I understood that he's not very much for it in the scope of Tau.
Sorry, he's kind of rather on the negative side. He wants to stay in a classical setup. Yeah, I'm not so afraid of them, but it's clear that the area of deontic logics is itself still expanding, and the formalisms that are being discussed have all their pros and cons. So there's not one deontic logic you could go for that seems to be the superior approach. But there are many options to go for, which makes it also a bit complicated to say now exactly which is the right one to go for. So it's an ongoing debate about what the proper deontic logic should be, and it's relevant to us. That's my conviction. But if we can avoid it in the context of Tau, we can eventually, we should probably also consider this as an option. But clearly, deontic logics, from my perspective, are in the range of what can eventually be addressed. It adds challenges in other respects than to the project. Yeah.
And this next question is from taunet, and they ask, please, Agoras team, explain the vision succinctly, explain the possibilities, condense the interesting and infinite into something that can be understood by a layman. Talk about scenarios, talk about how tokenomics come into play, talk about industry use and why Tau is better. Do so simply. I once heard that one can determine the proficiency of developers not by the amount of lines of code, but by their ability to do more with as few lines as possible. I would like to see this and explain a video of what Tau is, why it is great, and why it is different. I want to know the future possibilities and where this journey could be heading. The community white paper was a nice start, but often confusing. The internet itself is confusing, but laymen can understand what can be done with it. There are aspects of Tau which seem to take a back seat to the main component. For example, data storage, tokenomics, and industry applications. I just want to see more info in these realms.
So our vision basically can be simply seen as advancing humanity by scaling collaboration using logical AI. And a particular use case, for example, is large-scale discussions. So currently it's simply impossible for a larger group of people to have an efficient discussion, but using Tau, basically you could imagine the possibility of, for example, putting 1,000 doctors in the room, and all these doctors are experts on cancer research, maybe on finding a cure for cancer. And without Tau chain, it would be extremely difficult for all these doctors to organize their knowledge and have a fruitful discussion. But through Tau, no matter how many doctors would engage in the discussion, they could have an efficient discussion, and their knowledge could be understood by the network, and thus one could find faster or come faster to a solution to the problem. In terms of tokenomics, an example would be, well, we have the knowledge economy. So imagine a lawyer that wants to, or that has plenty of knowledge about commercial law, and there's a company that needs advice on commercial law. Then the company over our knowledge economy could automatically query the needed knowledge from the lawyer, and the lawyer would receive payment in Agoras tokens for providing his knowledge.
And this next question is from Redneve, and they ask, is there already a V2 plan for Agoras Live with features that you couldn't implement in time? If yes, what are those features?
Okay, so yes, we already have plans for version 2.0 for Agoras Live. And other than the enhanced video and payment features, we're central to Agoras Live 2.0 is the feature of identity, where basically teachers and maybe even students would be able to have a verified identity that shows their qualifications to be able to speak on specific topics. So that's the main feature that we're working on right now for Agoras Live 2.0.
Yes, and more to this, of course, we lack the request board for Agoras Live, when you can request for a certain knowledge and receive replies from knowledge providers on your requests. We lack that board, and we plan it for V2, along with, of course, a better UI.
All right, and this next question is from Redneve again, and he asks, what features are missing to launch an MVP of TML? For which period can we expect it? Spring, summer, fall, 2022?
So as you can see from the TML IDE, TML is already very feature complete. What we're working on right now is mostly performance improvements. That's really it. I mean, second order logic is a task that we're still working on, but that's very challenging, and we're not sure exactly how we'll be able to, or when we'll be able to finish that. But TML 1.0, which you could expect towards the August timeframe, is already feature complete. We're just working on performance improvements.
And the next question is from Redneve, and I'm going to have to try and put them together because they were placed on two separate submissions. So it goes as such. They ask, wouldn't a search engine have been a good first candidate to demonstrate the power of Tau? You ask questions and it suggests you many answers from different sources. can something like this be implemented over Agoras Live in the future? And to follow on, they say, what requirements do we lack to implement a search engine over using TML over Agoras Live? What's your position on this feature?
Well, there is the decentralized search engine that is described in the white paper, which requires basically fully featured Tau and Agoras because it involves many components. But I understand that here you speak about a different kind of search engine. Well, the ability to look at what people said over the network to query opinions will be already in the first versions of the this discussion platform. Reputation is a very delicate point. I guess that everyone, I would dare to say that everyone who try to solve the reputation problem do it wrong because you can always give to yourself a lot of positive feedback automatically, or to give to your competitors a lot of negative feedbacks automatically. So it's not very reliable. However, we plan to address this in some ultimate kind of solution by the identity a framework that Karim spoke about before.
And this question is from Dana. And they ask, this one's for Lucas actually. With regard to the correctness proof function of the Tau blockchain, have you looked at the design of TrueBit as a means of adding additional game theoretic incentive layer security to the process?
Yes, this is an interesting protocol, and it's not the same direction that looks like the Tau blockchain will go, in that the TrueBit protocol is a way of adding an economic incentive to enable a sort of cloud computing functionality. Whereas what we're trying to do with Tau is use a cryptographic technique to enable verification of computation, so that we're not trusting on economic incentive to guarantee us correctness of computation, but rather trying to verify directly.
Another question from Dana addressed to Lucas, and he asks, on the blockchain scalability front, have you weighted the pros and cons with the different solutions as layer 1, sharding, layer 2, rollups and ZK snarks, etc.? What are some performance targets you aim to achieve for transactions per second or finality?
Good question. Unfortunately, we are not really in the position in our architecture decision to design layer 2 solutions. Certainly scalability is a concern, but mostly we want to have a functioning layer 1 first before we try to build layer 2 on top of it. There are a couple of these layer 2 techniques which you mentioned, which we have some advantage already in terms of being prepared for. However, it's really too early to say how we can attack the scalability issues on Tau chain. It's a concern. I don't think we need a certain number of transactions per second to be functional, and I think that the number of blocks per minute will also not be a important consideration of blockchain because of enabling a lot of the work to continue at zero conf level. But yeah, again, these are things to keep in mind, but it's too early to answer that well. So thanks for those questions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That's it for the questions on the Q&A. We appreciate you joining in and tuning in and sending in your questions. Yeah, we will see you guys out in Telegram, and we look forward to the next month. Thank you.